So, last week I made a review on Gamera, the Giant Monster, the first film in the Gamera Showa era in franchise, in which I stated that I would be moving on to the Gamera Heisei series instead of continuing the Showa era. I was told by a few fans that I wouldn't regret it, and I definitely did not, because Gamera Guardian of the Universe is quite literally one of the best kaiju films I've ever seen. Yeah, no kidding. This is now one of my favorite kaiju movies ever, although it still doesn't beat the original Godzilla for me. Everything from the music to the special effects to the plot and everything else were all just incredible and extremely well done. It's definitely way better than the original Gamera. I never got bored during this movie because of just how awesome it was to watch. I enjoyed watching every bit of it and will definitely be rewatching it a bunch. So, now that I've given my general thoughts to you on this film, let's dive deeper into what makes me love it so much. So, here are my thoughts on Gamera, Guardian of the Universe. Gamera, Guardian of the Universe, released in 1995 and was the first film in the Heisei Gamera reboot trilogy. It was directed by Shisuke Kanako, and the incredibly memorable special effects were done by Shinji Higuchi, who would later go on to co-direct Shin Godzilla. With their combined efforts, they were able to create what many kaiju fans consider one of the best kaiju films and trilogies ever made. And I've already stated that I definitely agree with that statement, because yes, this film is amazing, and definitely peak of the genre. And now that the background information is out of the way, let's dive into the actual review. Quick spoilers warning, I won't be relaying any of the plot at all, like I've done in my past videos, but I will be reviewing the main plot points and talking about them. So, if you haven't watched the movie already, then I definitely recommend watching it before you watch this. Both plots in this film, the human and the monster ones, were really well done. The human plot was the weaker one, which is pretty on par with most monster films, but it was still really good. I enjoyed watching the humans attempt to grapple with the sudden appearance of Gaios and Gamera. The way they reacted to and interacted with the monsters actually felt beneficial to the story. Like, for example, I really liked the subplot about the girl who was connected to Gamera through one of the Atlantis metal pieces or whatever they're called, and how that applied to the climax, even if it wasn't as fleshed out as I would have liked it to be. And the stronger of the two, the monster plot, was way better. I love seeing the frequent battles between Gamera and Gaios. They were amazingly well done, and the true spectacle that is the special effects really complemented them. But we'll get to that later. And before we wrap this section up, I just want to take a moment to talk about my favorite scene in this entire film, when Tokyo Tower gets destroyed. In this scene, a series of guided missiles are sent after Gaios, and she ends up tricking the missiles into hitting Tokyo Tower, causing it to topple over and burn. Gaios then rubs salt in the open wound by making some sort of a nest in the remaining base of the tower. Now, for those who don't know, the Tokyo Tower has quite a bit of cultural significance in Japan. It represents the Japanese ability to grow even in post-World War II times when they were still suffering the effects of the atomic bombs. And seeing such an important building being destroyed in such a way actually made me feel emotional. Like not crying emotional, but more like just a slight sinking feeling emotional. And the shocked expressions on the faces of the defense force after the tower fell made it even more impactful for me. Anyways, now that I've gotten that out of the way, let's move on to the next category. Like I said before, the people in this film don't feel useless, and that's mostly because the characters are pretty good in this movie. Don't get me wrong, they are not perfect, and they are definitely one of the weakest parts of this film. There's not a lot of development with them, but they definitely drive the plot, which is a huge step up from the original Gamera. Other than that, though, there's not really much to say about them, so let's move on to our next category. The acting in this movie was very good, and way better than the acting in the original. It's actually, if I'm being honest, some of the best acting I've seen in a classic kaiju film. I felt like I was watching real people do real things, and feel real emotions like fear, shock, curiosity, happiness, etc., which is actually really rare for me while watching a monster movie. Remember the scene I talked about earlier with Tokyo Tower? Well, the shock on the faces of the Defense Force felt real and impactful. So, overall, this was a really positive part of this movie, and trust me, it definitely does not stop there. You know what? I actually take it back when I said the characters are the weakest part of this film. It's definitely the dialogue and delivery. I mean, it's not awful. In fact, it's actually pretty good. I just can't really get over the line. It's not a normal bird. It has a wingspan of over 50 feet, and it attacks people. Or at least, I think that's how it's said. But other than that line, it's pretty alright. And if this is the weakest part of this film, then that's definitely saying a lot. Wow. Just wow. I did not expect myself to be including music in this review, but it's just that good. The intro music, especially with the title card, was amazing, and I wish I could play it for you guys, but just watch the movie if you haven't already to see what I'm talking about. I don't exactly remember the theme, but I do remember that it felt like it fit the movie and the monsters really well. I remember it had a real Heisei feel to it. Like, you know how the different kaiju eras have their own kind of different aesthetics in both, like, special effects, music, all that stuff. Well, yeah, I felt like this was some of the most Heisei music from a Heisei kaiju film I've ever seen, in a really, really good way. Definitely, this is one of my favorite parts of this film, although it can't even compare to our next topic. I really don't know what to say. The special effects in this film are overall my absolute favorite part. At first, the Gaios looked kind of stiff and weird, but as the movie progressed, I felt like the effects on them improved exponentially. And I can't get over how great Gamera was in this film. The way he looked, moved, and sounded all made him feel like a real monster trudging through a real city. I also loved the miniatures, especially the one of Tokyo Tower, and my second favorite scene in the entire movie was the battle at the suspension bridge, which has some of the best effects in the whole film, in my opinion. Overall, the special effects in this film were one of the best parts, and I can't wait to see how it looks in the sequels. Alright, so this is our final category today, and I didn't really have like a major category to fit it into, so I apologize if this seems like a very random topic to talk about, but I just wanted to talk about what is probably my least favorite part of this movie, the transitions. They looked like they were done in KindMaster, like it was just a slide transition every time, and it kind of stuck out like a sore thumb in this film. I felt like they could have done way better here, but other than that, I don't really have any complaints about this film. So now we can move on to the synopsis and the final rating. Overall, Gamera Guardian of the Universe is an amazing kaiju film with stellar music and special effects, and a very decent plot, which is complemented by the acting and characters. I would give this film a 9 out of 10 because it's just really so amazing. The only reason I can't give it a 10 out of 10 is because I am unable to get over some of the dialogue and transitions. And that's all I have to say for you this week. So, have a good day, and thanks for watching.